it's sad. Like if I see, and look, I'm obviously not going to mention any names, and I'd never ever do that. But I've actually seen like a lot of local South African influencers who I used to really like, and I used to enjoy their content. And then I started seeing them just like taking on every single brand, and just like you could see, it was just like, okay, well, what's going on? You've just completely you've sold yourself out. So my name's Nicky, and I am the owner of Delicious Monster. I say owner, it's weird. I'm a creator. I'm a food photographer and recipe developer and a content creator. Yeah. And I've had Delicious Monster officially since 2017.
That's really awesome. Just real quick, before we get into even anything else, I need to talk about your chocolate sauces, because that just looks like an incredible thing. And I want to know more about it and kind of how that came to be, and some other things that you have, some other products that you have on your store or anything like that. It's super interesting to me, because I don't see a lot of people that have their own chocolate sauce.
Oh, cool. Okay, yeah. So the chocolate sauce, I mean, it came about. Look, it's not a product that I invented by any means. It's obviously based on ice cap, good old fashioned chocolate sauce that we kind of all grew up with in South Africa. Obviously, it's made with very different ingredients. And very simple ingredients. And yeah, I kind of stumbled on it last year when I was doing my ebook for Christmas, and wanted to sort of make my own chocolate sauce, and was tinkering with caramelizing my own white chocolate. And then I made a batch and took it to a family lunch, and everyone tasted it. And my dad especially was hysterical because he loves chocolate. And he was like, "You have to sell this." Saying it as he was drinking it out the jar. Yeah. So I started creating the sauces and selling them. Look, they've been pretty popular with those who have tried them and those who've stocked them. But I think at the moment, buying a luxury chocolate sauce is not everyone's top priority. So yeah, sales have kind of been a little bit slow. But I think, I tinker with stuff with Delicious Monster. I'm not sort of dead set on certain things. I had a granola butter that I developed in the big, early last year, and I sort of took a little bit of time to get going with it because I was afraid to launch it. And then I did, and it kind of was a bit of a flop. So I took that quite personally, and I kind of have learned that you can't put all your eggs in one basket. Like, you're not going to be, your first idea is not going to make you tons of money. You have to sort of like taste the waters. Yeah. So that's kind of, my chocolate sauces. So they're still around. I've sort of taken a bit of a break from them. Just because I've been doing a lot of client work, and I've had a couple of new sort of professional developments in the last sort of month and a half. So those have taken a bit of a backseat, but they'll be around. They're still around. If you'd like some, you can order some.
Definitely will be. It's interesting because you did mention like good old fashioned ice cap, and I think that's the one thing that kind of drew my attention, because a lot of I think everyone, at least in this country at some point, has melted down a bar one with some milk or something to make chocolate sauce in their kitchen or whatever, but it doesn't end up like ice cap. It doesn't harden over time or whatever. So that's like the one thing that I was like, that's super interesting to see a like homemade version of chocolate sauce that's actually like ice cap.
It's really, really easy to make. It's not, it's really not I haven't made like some scientific breakthrough. It's coconut oil. I'll be completely blatant, tell you what it is. You can even Google on Pinterest, not Google on Pinterest, search on Pinterest or Google, like magic chocolate sauce. And that's it. It's chocolate and coconut oil. There we go. But the caramelizing white chocolate is obviously something that's a little bit more, there's more technique involved in that. That is, that takes quite a while. So that's where it's kind of special. Yeah.
Well, I'll definitely 100% gonna be trying that in some point, but between I'll send you some. That would be incredible. Definitely be willing to talk about it, because like I would have ordered actually some to speak about it before we started, but we've only like kind of been in contact for like 3 days. But
Exactly.
yeah, you also mentioned your ebook, which is actually something I wanted to talk about, because I read a couple of your short stories on the on your website, and like it actually seems like you have some like pretty good writing skills. Like it's other than the actual stories, like it's written really well. So I was just wondering if that's something that you like, whether you did courses or not, or just something you were really interested in and just kind of developed that skill.
No, I mean, I started writing sort of long form posts when I was living in China. And I think it's just because I needed a place to sort of express everything that I was experiencing living in a new country. And yeah, it kind of came out of my writing. And I think my writing style is, anyone who knows me well will read something of mine and say to me, it was like we were having a conversation with you, or like we were hearing you talking. And I think it's something that has come naturally to me. I haven't done any courses. I didn't study writing. Yeah, it's just something that I've sort of started doing.
I definitely agree with that statement about like, it seems like, I mean, you do call them short stories on the website, so I want to say when I read the articles, but when I read them, it really does feel like that. It feels like somebody like telling me the story rather than like it being read. It's very easily digestible. And then yeah, just on the ebooks, kind of like how that you said you did one for Christmas. The one that I saw on the website was The Isolated Kitchen. I saw that title somewhere.
Yeah, that was my first one.
Mm-hmm.
That came about because of the pandemic. We kind of went into lockdown in that first week. There was that first announcement. I think it might have been on a Monday night or Sunday night. But anyway, it was the beginning of the week. And
I think it was something like that.
Yeah, it was like, it feels like such a long time ago. But that announcement happened, and I had a like one of my biggest sort of client projects booked. I was going to photograph a recipe book for a local cookery school in Johannesburg. So that was really exciting. And then I had contract work that, with a previous employer. And in the space of a week after that announcement, the cookery book was postponed. I mean, they're personal friends of mine. I mean, they had cancellations for like 6 months ahead in like the first 4 hours of the following day after that announcement. So that their business was like basically wiped out. And then it's still going now, but I mean, obviously things changed a lot, so they couldn't go ahead with that project. And then my contract with my previous employer was terminated because of financial issues. So it was hell. I went from being completely confident and being able to pay things like my rent, and I'd just signed a lease on a cottage. And I went from like stable income to nothing in the space of a week. And it was very, very scary. And I had to think really quickly and figure out a way that I would potentially be able to make money while we were all sort of locked down at home and people were cooking up a storm. I mean, that was pretty obvious. But I had to play to my strengths. So I figured out, okay, well, I literally made the decision in like 24 hours. I was like, I'm going to have to produce an ebook. And I did in about 3 weeks. So it was very basic. I mean, I look back and it's not great. But I had very limited props. I forgot my styling boards at home because my boyfriend and I actually went out to his sort of family plot to spend time with his dad over lockdown, because we thought it was only going to be for 3 weeks. I mean, everyone did. So I left my styling boards accidentally in the boot of my car, and then I had to improvise. So it was pretty tough. I mean, it was a lot of hard work, but I managed to pull it through. I like sort of developed. I had a website that I had to go onto. I had to set up an e-commerce type thing. I mean, I had to have a payment portal. I had to publish the thing. I had to, write the recipes, photograph the recipes, taste the recipe. And then I had to, my sister was sitting at the time, she was sitting in Miami, and she helped me sort of, she was sort of checking all my copy was correct. I mean, it was, my boyfriend was doing it for me. I mean, it was really it was a bit crazy. So managed to get that out in 3 weeks. And then I sold, I sold around 150 copies, and it was close friends and family, which was great. But I mean, that was at least an insurance policy for the next sort of few months. I mean, that turned into like 3-4 months.
It's a super impressive time period for releasing an ebook. Like, that's super short from what I've seen from other people before. People that talk about making ebooks, that's super quick. So that's really impressive.
It is quick. And I mean, obviously, the quality, I would have liked it to be better, but I didn't have time. I mean, I had to talk turnaround. It was, if I can look back, it was insanity. I would never do that again. Like, I would never. Yeah.
Over a long period of time, would you ever do a actual printed, published cookbook?
Yeah. Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely, but I don't think I'd self-publish.
No, I think that's even more of a mission and costs, and you kind of have to end up doing everything yourself. So that's quite a lot. But you did all the ebook stuff yourself, right? Like, that was just straight through your website.
Everything.
Okay.
I mean, I did the templates myself. I did the editing. I did the writing. I did the, putting it together, putting it up on the website. Pretty much, with obviously some help with the checking of stuff. But I pretty much did everything myself. Yeah.
That's really impressive again. That's really crazy. I see a lot of people, I mean, I don't know how it would work with stuff in this country, but the reason I asked if it was just on your website is because I know some people publish ebooks through Amazon and that kind of thing, but I don't really know. We aren't so open-armed welcomed with a lot of things in the States, so I'm not sure how that would really work. But I mean, it's probably better yourself anyway, because nobody's taking a cut of your fees or anything. You just have to sort out your, I guess, hosting costs or e-commerce costs and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I think you also need to have things set up to be Kindle friendly, because the Amazon ebooks, I think you have to have the Kindle app to read them. Yeah. So no, I was not about to go into that territory. So very happy the way I did it. But, there's also the things with ebooks is that, people, when you purchase it and you download a PDF, it's very easy for you to pass that PDF on to other people. And there's no, there are security measures that you can put in place and all of that. But I kind of tinkered with it because I was concerned about that. But I thought, bugger it, I'm just going to go and do it. And just make a kind request, please, would you rather not do that? And I've seen that on other ebooks that I've purchased, from, messages from the author sort of saying you can redistribute this, but please don't. And we like to think that people won't do it, good people won't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I see it a lot as well. Recently I did a kind of short course on how certain things work on YouTube. And I mean, it's the same, but it's this guy's worked out, his name's Matt Diavella. He's also pretty big on YouTube, but he put together what I would like to call a proper curriculum. And it's a 64-page booklet that's got worksheets and all kinds of things. And it's just a PDF. And he didn't actually say anything, but I was just thinking damn, there's a lot of bad people out there. And this seems really crazy, because I was surprised. I thought that it would just be an external link to a website or something like that, but it was just a straight PDF download. So I was like, wow, that's crazy. I would be so, I mean, like you said, I guess it depends on who your crowd is that's downloading it, because a lot of the people that are like me wouldn't do that, because you're I want to support the person that's put in the work for this, that's helped me. But yeah, there's gotta be some other better way to work around that. But
There are ways that you can encrypt PDFs, but you have to pay, like you have to pay for it, and there are additional expenses that come with that. So yeah.
The thing with PDFs is that like it is kind of always there. Like you don't have any additional printing costs that have to come through. You can just publish the ebook and then it's always there. Like people will always be able to go back and look at it or buy it, or like even now after we're not after lockdown, we're still in lockdown, but like after that time that you had posted it, people can still see it on your website and buy it or whatever. So it's kind of always an asset that you've created for yourself, whereas I think some other things, you know, if you had to go through printing and stuff like that, isn't always the same type of deal.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I lost you for a couple of seconds there. This is like South African internet. Yeah.
I see a big thing that drew me in. I don't actually remember. I think it might have been an advert or something where I first saw your account. I don't actually remember, but I'm a sucker for all kinds of desserts because I'm a huge sweet tooth. So seeing the fudge and all of those kind of things that are on your page, that's really that's a hook for me. Because desserts are just my favorite. My dad and I constantly making those kind of things. So just was wondering, like, what is, because you have other things too, but like, what is some of your favorite things to make, or like some of your favorite recipes you've developed over time?
So, I mean, yeah, I think the sweet stuff is a major hook. And I find if I ever sort of publish a savory recipe, they aren't as popular as the sweet stuff or the sweet things. So I do definitely prefer, you know, creating and photographing sweet recipes just from a baking perspective. Like if I could go back, I mean, I would still like to do it, but if I could go back to culinary school, I would have specifically done pastry. Yeah, I mean, I still would love to go to like Cordon Bleu in Paris and just do like a hardcore pastry course for like 3 months. It's a dream. Hopefully I'll get there. I actually follow somebody on Instagram that's just doing it at the moment. And we kind of have become Instagram friends, as you do these days. And he shares so much stuff and it's just amazing. So I do kind of prefer to do that kind of content. I suppose it's just because I feel like more confident in photographing sweet stuff and making things look, you know, desserts looking to, you know, make them look beautiful. But the savory stuff is cool. I mean, it's funny because everyone always says to me, oh, well, you know, what do you do with all the baked stuff? I try and not make too much, and I try and sort of freeze it or sort of pass it on to other people because it can be quite a lot. But day to day, it's actually more, you know, like behind the scenes, it's more like salads and vegetables as opposed to dessert. But like photographing salad, that's not like, I don't know. I find that a bit boring. You know, for me, I've looked at other people's photographs of savory food and I think, oh my God, I wish I could photograph stuff like that. But yeah, I sort of tend to gravitate towards more of the sweet stuff. So I think, you know, recently, if I can think about a couple of recipes, like I've got that chocolate and pistachio cake. I have that fig cakelet that I did, and the salted caramel sort of drip. There are a few things. Yeah, but I think the sweet stuff, it's funny because I look at my sort of my analytics and I see, you know, I look at the data and see what works and what doesn't work. And it's always sweet stuff trumps savory stuff all the time.
I think it's difficult because I think a big thing is that, I mean, like I said now, whether you're a sweet tooth or not, I think the sweet stuff hooks people because whether you're a sweet tooth or not, it's more appealing to be like, oh, this thing looks delicious. I just need to go cook my chicken tonight, but this looks amazing. So it's more the unrealistic, like amazing desserts that people are all dreaming of than their Saturday night dinner that would still be super delicious, but like, you know.
Exactly. I think it's kind of aspirational, if you can call it, you know, dessert that. But yeah.
Definitely. And I saw another thing on your website, but also like through your account. I know you have some highlights and things, but you've got some pretty like huge brands that you've worked with over the years or however long you've been working on it. And so I was just wondering, well, first of all, is that like kind of the main thing you're doing now, your Instagram account and running that as a business?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's been a goal of mine since sort of Delicious Monster kind of came about in 2017. It just, that, yeah, I mean, at the time I was working in Shanghai and I was working for a cooking app, and we were working with brands and developing content for them there. And I was also being exposed to a lot of sort of food bloggers and content creators in the States. And I was seeing that a lot of them were working with, beginning to work with a lot of the, food brands and appliance brands or any sort of kitchen food lifestyle related brands out there. And I sort of identified that was a major opportunity for myself. So back then that was something that I sort of, was determined to get going. It took a little bit of time, but I think the momentum has sort of been sort of gathering, and yeah, in the last sort of 3-4 months that has really sort of taken off. So yeah, so I've worked with quite a lot of different brands, and look, it is a great stream of income. And I think that if you can, get it going and have a couple of clients that you work with on a regular basis, that's a sweet spot to be in. So yeah, I think, look, I'd never want Delicious Monster completely commence. Look, it's nice getting paid for creating content, and that is always something that I want to be doing, but I need to keep a piece of it for myself, and still be able to, I still need to be able to do things that I want to do, on a whim, or if I get inspired by something, I can, do that. Or Delicious Monster is a creative outlet. So that is, yeah, that's still important to me. And I say on my website as well, and I stick to this, is I don't want to work with brands that don't align with me. It's all very well that someone comes to you and they're like, hey, we've got like this huge budget. If they made absolutely no sense to Delicious Monster and they weren't a brand that kind of resonated with me personally, it would be a very weird place to be in. And look, I think, like, not to look a gift horse in the mouth. Like, if somebody comes to you and says, we want to work with you, we want to pay you, cool, you need to look at it. But I think with the kind of content that I'm doing at the moment and the way that I'm working it, I need to work with brands that align with me. And that's advice that I would give to anybody else, is don't sell yourself out. Because then you just kind of like lose it. It's, yeah, you just kind of like become a little bit of a sellout, I would say.
Yeah, no, I definitely think that that's a big thing. I mean, you saw it for a while when YouTube was kind of just becoming like a big thing, where people were kind of like taking on these random brand deals that didn't make any sense. And now over the last couple of years, people have actually started like saying no and just taking deals that pertain to your company, if you want to call it that. On YouTube, it's mostly just personal, but like, you become a company when you get to that point, even if it is just a personal brand. You need to like have things that aren't weird. Like, it would be strange for me as being me if I suddenly randomly did a lipstick advert. If that wasn't something that I was into, people would be like, but you don't wear that or anything, so why are you advertising this? Because you wouldn't have the faintest clue whether it is even good or all of the properties or anything like that. It would just feel out of place completely.
Exactly. And I think that also, like, consumers are not stupid. Your audience isn't dumb. And I think that's the other thing that people need to always remember, is that people will see that and they'll be like, this is confusing, I don't understand this, and it kind of also kind of aligns with that, like, the whole like influencer culture, like people just posting about everything and saying, this is the best I've ever tasted, or it's the best thing I've ever used, or, it's just kind of, it's a bit like, I don't know, it's a bit much. I've seen a lot of it, and I've sort of started unfollowing people slowly that I kind of look at it and go, this doesn't make any sense. I also don't, if I don't relate to it anymore, I'm just like, well, it's not for me, you know? But yeah, I think you need to be solid in your belief in like who you want to work with. And I think you also, if you kind of resonate that, you'll attract it. So I think that that's really important. It's sad. Like if I see, you know, and look, I'm obviously not going to mention any names, and I'd never ever do that, but I've actually seen like a lot of local South African influencers who I used to really like, and I used to enjoy their content. And then I started seeing them just like taking on every single brand, and just like, you could see, it was just like, okay, well, what's going on? You've just completely, you've sold yourself out. And it's unfortunate. It really is. And look, I think, I don't know, like, I don't know if I'd ever get to that point of like being big enough to not really care. I'd never want that to happen, but I think maybe they have, you know, and it's sad. And I feel like, you know, yeah, it sucks. It really does suck.
Again, like you said, I won't obviously go into specific people to talk about, but I've seen it happen a lot too, where I've like really been interested in a couple people that also local that like got really big, because obviously that's like inspirational to me, who's someone on the platform trying to like push these things forward. And then they get to a point where it's like however many followers, and it just seems like now, because for me at least, I start following a lot of the people because of the like type of stories that stories being like normal stories, not Instagram stories, like the things that they post and tell on YouTube and the way that they tell them and things. And that's what I get interested in. And some of them have just gotten to the point now where it's like, the story's kind of lost. The like whole motto of your videos or things, I kind of don't see it anymore. All I see is like some things happening and the sponsorship, and then some other things happening, and that's all that the videos are every time. So that definitely sucks. I have like at least a couple people that I can count on two hands that I like religiously used to watch all of their things and like be super amped about it. And I was just kind of like, well, I know that this is either going to be a this or this advert, so I don't even know why I should watch.
Yeah, exactly. And it just, I don't know, it happens. I suppose it's the nature of the game, but I just think it's like, I would hope that if I got to the point that people would call me out on it, like especially, you know, my close friends and family. But look, I mean, like times are tough, I suppose. Like, you know, if people are like full-time influencers and that's where their income to live comes from that, then hey, like, okay, I get that. But yeah, I think there's a fine line.
Yeah, I definitely think so. And I get the amount of brand deals. I understand that because like you said, this is these people's full income. So I get the amount or length of brand deals, but I still think that there's better ways that you can go about it to make it more fun. Or like certain people do like skits or things for their brand deals that make it more fun. Like for a while, somebody I follow on YouTube, Peter McKinnon, he posted, he had like a pretty long period where like all of the sponsorships he was doing was for Squarespace, and he had like this persona that he created that was just him, but like edited into the same screen. There was like another version of him that would be like reminding him about the Squarespace advert, and then they'd be arguing because he's busy recording a video, he doesn't have time for this, but the other person's just telling him all these things about Squarespace. And then it kind of just falls in, like you don't, like obviously you know it's an advert, but it just kind of like slips through because it's funny and interesting and like made as a part of the video, not just like TV where it's like, we'll be returning in 2 seconds, here's the advert, and then back to like normal kind of thing. Like that's what it makes me think of, like old school watching DSTV, and then every 5 minutes the video just pauses and there's an ad and then it comes back again. So that's not my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, those are really annoying.
Yeah. How long have you, I mean, I know you've been doing the food and all of that thing for ages, but like how long have you been like seriously trying on social media and all of that kind of stuff?
I can't remember when I joined Instagram. I mean, obviously it was for personal stuff. I think it was probably around like 2015, 2016 when I first moved to China. And then I sort of split my personal account and my professional account. I have two separate ones. So I've kind of been growing it since 2016, 2017. There was that massive cull that Instagram did a couple of years ago. It was actually around 2018, I think, or 2017 or 2018, when I literally lost like 1,500 followers overnight, which was hectic, but it needed to be done because obviously Instagram was doing a major cleanup. And at that time, you know, fake accounts, and they weren't as like prolific as they are now. It's taken a while for me to get to the point where I'm at now, but it's all pretty much organic growth. I mean, I do a lot of, I do put a bit of budget behind sponsored posts, and it does help, but like constantly fighting the algorithm, it does my head in.
Yeah, the algorithm is something crazy. And especially Instagram now, they've gotten to such a point where over the years they've done like little change by little change by little change, and it's just gotten to such a crazy point. Like I always tell my friends, like I remember the days where the feed on Instagram was just chronological. It was whoever had posted the second that you opened Instagram, those were the posts you saw. So people were super concentrated on timing of posts and when their users were active. And now sometimes I open Instagram and the first post I see says 3 days ago, and I'm like, what?
I know.
What? I've even liked this post already. Why is this here?
I know, it's insane. And it's really frustrating as a creator because you put so much work into the things that you do, and like besides like trying to figure out what content you should be creating and, writing things and photographing things and editing things, then it's like, oh, now you've got to play this guessing game of like, when is the best time to post, or if you post something, is it going to work? I mean, even with sponsored, brand partnerships, like paid partnerships. I saw something the other day about one of the, photography, creator groups I belong to on Facebook. Like people were saying, or one person asked, how other people found the engagement on paid partnership posts, because the one she'd recently posted wasn't doing too well. And I felt so much better sort of seeing people's comments, and they were saying, no, like it's not, like this is a thing, it's not you, it's a problem, it's happening. It's like, you pay to play. I mean, if you put money behind your posts, they will get more eyes. I mean, it's not rocket science. But the thing is, I feel like it's like gambling. It's like they hook you in with a little, like let's say you spend like 350 Rand on a post, and it does extremely well. And then the next post that you sponsor, boost, you'll boost for the same amount of money, and the engagement will be like, it'll tank, it won't work, because then they want you to just spend more. And it's like gambling. And I've had clients that have sort of not really understood how this works. And they're like, my post's not working. Like, why is it not working? Why we're spending the same budget? What targeting are you using? It's the same stuff. Nothing's changed. Like, I haven't done anything on my side. It's exactly the same formula. It's just, they want you to spend more money. And it becomes like, it's intense. It really is intense. You need a full-on marketing budget.
Yeah, and like you said, it just becomes so difficult as a creator in any space because it's constantly changing. And then, like you said, if you have clients that are paying you to do that kind of stuff, now you do the thing and it doesn't work, and they're like, well, you said if we do this that it's gonna work, and then you're like, well, it worked a couple days ago. I don't know what to say.
Like, I'm sorry.
Yeah. And
also to be honest, you actually really need to be spending, like, I mean, it's probably changed now, but the last time I listened to some sort of online webinar, and it was like the minimum amount of money you should be spending on, boosting posts on social media a month is like 3,500 to 4,000 Rand minimum. I mean, as I said, that was like last year. It's probably changed, but like, who has that sort of cash? as a creator, as like someone who, I don't have 4,000 Rand lying around that I can just throw into, a marketing budget for my own platform. Like, no, I don't. So yeah, it's really tough. But I think, a lot of the brands, like, you'll communicate this with them and they don't, they understand. Like, if they're a good, and there are a lot of really awesome clients out there who do get it. And they are just grateful that you create beautiful content with their brands and you tell amazing stories, and, people do engage with that. And I think I've always said this, and I've been saying this for years, it's quality versus quantity. And, that it comes back to the influencer thing of like people being obsessed with having thousands and thousands of followers, is that, yeah, you might have like over 10,000 followers, but only 3,500 of those followers are actually people that are truly engaged with your content. I'd much rather have, the 3,500 than like having to speak to X amount more that don't care. So, yeah, it's just people, and I think that's changing and people are becoming more aware of that. But like, yeah, you still have a lot of brands that do sort of say, oh no, well, they've got less than X amount. Like, I'm not going to really engage with them, or I'm not interested in, in working with them. Yeah, so it's tough. But look, I say these things, but I have even seen over the last year, like things have changed quite a lot. I think people are becoming they're far more educated about how the sort of landscape is at the moment. Yeah.
I guess they've kind of had to be, because everyone's had to go digital. So everyone's been doing their research on the platforms, because it's the only way you could have done business over the last year. I mean, things are kind of a bit more open now, but still, majority of people have to go digital, and then you got to know what you're doing, because at the same time, majority of those people can't afford in this time to pay someone else to do it, so they have to do it themselves, and then you got to find out what you got to be doing for yourself. So I think that's definitely been a huge change in the last while.
It has. I mean, also, like, I kind of have these moments some days and I'm like, if Facebook and Instagram disappeared tomorrow, what would we do? I mean, obviously there's Google, but and Pinterest, but yeah.
It's still not the same. It's like, it's crazy.
It's not the same. It's not the same. And it's scary because we've become so reliant on these platforms. It's,
Yeah, I mean, even if you take it to a bigger scale, I mean, not to downcredit Instagram, because obviously it's huge, but I mean, look at the amount of people that have YouTube as their job, as a full-time video, and even on the bigger people scale, those people also have editors that work for them, and graphic designers that work for them, and social media people that work for them, all under the umbrella of YouTube creation. So that's like one of the things that I hear people say all the time, is like, when you ask someone at that level, like, their biggest fear is like, if YouTube just had to shut down, because then it's like, I mean, yes, you can go back to freelance or whatever, but essentially your entire life has been shut down, and not only yours, like 7 other people that work for you. And it's just like scary how that can happen in the blink of an eye, and it has before. I mean,
I haven't even thought about the YouTube thing, because I'm not on YouTube. But yeah, I mean, I don't watch a lot of YouTube videos, but my boyfriend does, and the guys that he watches are massive. I mean, and they talk about the editors and stuff, and I was thinking, oh my God, they have like full-on teams of, like, they have production teams behind them. Like, this is pretty big. So yeah, I suppose, yeah, if YouTube vanished overnight, it would be huge.
Yeah. And I mean, it's very scary, but it is a little less unlikely because it is a Google company, and Google's obviously a lot bigger. So it's a little less unlikely. But I mean, it happened with Vine. Vine was independent, so it's whatever. But I mean, people also had lots of money coming from Vine that just got shut off. And again, that was a little different because majority of those people just moved to YouTube and started making stuff there, and their following followed them. But yeah, it's crazy. A lot of people have started learning over the last while because of COVID and things being weird that you need to like diversify. So a lot of these big YouTubers have started making like other companies that are still related to them, but also not, like complete clothing companies, or not like merch, like actual clothing companies, or people that I know like made their own clothing brands that are like just jackets or like photo gear or video gear that's like their brand, so that if anything did have to happen, you still have this thing that you've created that you can work on or do. So I think that's super important. I mean, you even mentioned it earlier, it's just not putting all your eggs in one basket. Like, you gotta make sure that things are, you know, kind of separate, so that if one had to take a dive somehow, you still have some other things going on.
Exactly. I think if there's anything that the last year has taught us, is you have to diversify. It's the safest way of actually, you know, making money. I mean, I learned that personally, and I've seen a lot of other brands doing it, and I think it's smart. I think it's a smart way of working. So yeah, I mean, I've got a website that I, you know, publish short stories on, and I have recipes, and I have social media, and I work with brands, and I sell chocolate sauces, and that's like my way of diversifying what I'm doing. And it's also a nice way of figuring out, like, if something's not working, then you can easily just like switch it up or just drop it. And you're not like, it's not like you're dropping your entire like existence, you know? I mean, I've even gone so far as I'm actually starting a full-time job tomorrow.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, I nearly sent a follow-up email this morning to say that we had to reschedule, because I nearly had my full-time job bringing me on to shoot today, but then it didn't happen because of weather. So, I mean, it's difficult to diversify sometimes when you still need to be paying rent and things, but you got to do it. You got to make it work.
I've kind of done it the other way around. So I've sort of figured out what I want to be doing as a side thing. And then now I sort of have a full-time job. And look, it's in the same like digital space. It doesn't conflict with Delicious Monster, which is awesome. And I'm still working remotely. But I think now I'm at a point where, I mean, it was a really tough decision to make, because I was sort of like, yeah, I'm my own boss. But it, you know, with that becomes a lot of responsibility and stress. And yeah, I kind of had to make that decision a couple of months ago. Like, look, it's not actually time. Like, I can't survive solely on this. So yeah, it's sort of like, now I at least have the stability of a salary. But I can sort of still do Delicious Monster stuff on the side in my free time. And at least, you know, if something doesn't work, or if I have an off month, then it's fine. I can still survive, you know. And that is sort of another way of me diversifying. And yeah, it was a tough thing to grapple, because it was like, you know, running you have your own business, and you're, you know, doing your own thing, and then having to kind of like admit that it's not as reliable as you'd want it to be, you know. So
yeah, I think it's definitely, like you said, the stability and salary thing was the big kick for me when getting into a permanent job, because before, like, just at the start of last year, I was doing freelance and trying to do YouTube and all of that kind of stuff. And it works, like it's fine, because with freelance, especially in the video creation space, like the money's pretty good, but there's no stability at all. It's like 1 month you can be getting 4 jobs, that's great, but then you have to be really good with that money, because next month you might have literally nothing. And then COVID happened, and so there literally was nothing, because nobody could see each other. So then that's when I got super lucky that this company was doing a lot of digital stuff, and they were a little bigger. So yeah, so then I took on the full-time thing, because like you said, it's just like I still have, you know, weekends or evenings or whenever to work on my own thing, but I still have the income every month to pay rent or buy groceries or whatever the other things are that you need to do. So
to survive, yeah. And also you can, you know, you get paid leave, which is also great. It's like you can go on holiday and actually not have to stress about the fact that you aren't working, because when you freelance and you work for yourself, like every hour, like you thinking of those in like billable hours, it's a scary thing. So yeah, Look, it's hard work. I mean, it's hard to balance those, full time. But I think if you're smart about it and you manage your time properly, it's cool. You can do it. Yeah.
I mean, like literally last weekend, it was my 21st birthday. And so I could put in a little bit of leave to take off work, and we just went camping for the 4 days, which was awesome to just get away out of signal. But I mean, even just with this podcast that I was putting out every week, it was like a constant thing where I was like, okay, well, now I'm going to be completely away. So I have to be like, hey guys, going into the mountains, new episode coming next week, not this week. And I mean, luckily it's not like a huge thing right now because there's no income attached to it. But I was thinking about it. I was like, maybe I should just do nothing at all, and so that I can record a podcast and put it out. But yeah, so if I was at a bigger scale, it would definitely be a thing. I mean, right now it wasn't that big of a deal because I have 60 followers, and I was like, it's fine, they can wait. But if that's like your sole income, then you're like, well, I guess I will do nothing for whatever event or thing because I need to record the podcast, because if I don't, my sponsorship doesn't come through, or I don't get paid for the ad read, or etc. So
yeah, it's a tough thing when you become you feel responsible, or that you owe your followers something. I find I also try and sometimes feel like I need to explain myself with things, and then I'm like, actually no, I don't have to explain myself. This actually got nothing to do with anybody.
Yeah, that was a huge thing that I caught myself with this time, because what I used to do, because I've been trying to do the YouTube thing for long, but just general random videos here and there, vlogs and coffee things and college and all of that kind of random things. And in the past, because I would try and set a thing and be like, cool, this year I'm at college, I'm studying, whatever, I'll make one video every week for this period of time, and then something will happen and I'll have to miss, and then the next video starts, sorry guys, last week I was doing this and this and this. And I used to do that so often, and I caught myself this time because I was like, you know what? This time I'm just going to try, I still want to mention it because I don't want to just not put out an episode and then it's whatever, it's just missing. So I did say that I was going away, but I left out the apology, which was something that I caught on, and I was like, yeah, no need to apologize.
Yeah. Exactly.
Because
people apologize for way too much. I say sorry too much. It is something that I am deeply guilty of.
Yeah.
But no, you don't have to apologize to people. They'll still be there, and if they're not there, then they weren't worth being around anyway. So
exactly. Yeah. And I think especially now at the start, and this is why I'm kind of laxy-daisy with a lot of issues or internet things or certain video quality or anything like that, or any of the stuff taking gaps or missing things because of not being able to book things, all of that kind of people, because I think in the start it's especially important that people are a little more lenient on themselves, because first of all, you don't have 1 million people watching, so you can make mistakes and only a couple of people are going to see it. And second of all, this is your build up. People can have a nice journey and people can follow it along, and just get the bad ones out of the way, and then you can get better as you go.
Well, I think it's the only way you learn. It's the only way you learn how to improve. I mean, if I think about a couple months ago when I tried to do something on Reels, I mean, I'm not a videographer, and people often ask me, do you do video? No, when I did video recipes when I was working in Shanghai, I had a production team that were helping with that stuff. I was the one cooking and doing the recipes, and there was a cameraman and there was an assistant and there was editing going on. I did not touch that stuff. It freaks me out completely. But now with Reels and realizing that I actually do need to start doing more video. I mean, I did a couple of Reels and I was like, okay, well, I can do stop motion. So maybe I can do, some stop motion stuff. And I did that and it was okay. And then I did a couple of other videos on Reels, which I've since deleted because they're hideous. I'm also a major perfectionist. So I'll see stuff and then I'll be like, nah, this cannot. And meanwhile, anyone else will look at it and they won't even see what I'm saying. So I'm being ridiculous. But yeah. So, and then over the last 2 weeks, I've been doing more video, and I've actually been teaching myself how to edit on my phone with an app. And I'm like, hey, I can actually do this. but I think it just takes, like, you got to make mistakes. You got to practice. You got to be able to see look at the things you've done in the past and be like, yeah, this is how I can improve it. You're not going to be perfect from the get-go. Like, it's impossible, so make mistakes, try stuff out, improve. Yeah, I think it's the only way you can really do it.
And I think definitely in the space that I'm in with a lot of my friends in the video and like this podcast and stuff, a huge thing at the start for me was like, well, I can't record with international people because I don't have like a lighting setup, so it's going to be dark here and so it won't work, so maybe I should wait until I can get that, and I don't really have this kind of camera, so I should wait until I get that, or like mic. And I was like, yeah, you know what, if I just start it, it's fine, it'll be whatever at the start. I can get people that are local, and then eventually I can just build up to that, and by that time you'll have also built up a like kind of decent following, and people can just follow that journey, and you can, like you said, make mistakes and learn as you go. You did mention now a couple times, and I've been wanting to ask it, but my brain's just been going off all kinds of other wormholes and things. But what is you mentioned that you went to China, right? I'd love to know a little bit more about that story, and then after that, I think we can wrap up.
So I first went to China in 2013. I was working for ETV at the time, and we went on a sort of sales conference, and we went to Beijing for a week, and it was like an amazing race concept, and it was awesome. And I fell in love with it. I just thought it was the most bizarre, interesting place I'd ever been to. And then I came back to South Africa, and then my ex actually went on an exchange program to Jiaotong University. And then, so he sort of went over there, and then he got offered a full-time job in Shanghai. So I moved over, and then I started working for a cooking app. So then I was there for sort of 3 years. And then, in 2018, I moved over to the UK. But China was awesome. I mean, it's funny because when I first went there and I went to Beijing, Beijing and Shanghai are completely different cities. I mean, it's chalk and cheese. And I sort of thought, I love China. I just went to Beijing. I did not go to the whole of China. And I still have not been. I only did like a fraction of exploring that could have been done there. It's a massive country, obviously. So there's just so many different provinces and like food and people. And it's just, it's a really interesting place. But Shanghai was very cool. And I made a lot of amazing friends there and from all over the world. And it was a cool place to be. And I think for me, creatively, it was fantastic because I was desperate to get out of the industry. I've been in media and digital publishing and print publishing for a long time, but I was in media sales. So I was like client facing and on the commercial side of things, which was great. And I was very good at it, but I ended up really disliking it. And I desperately wanted to, start going more on the content side of things, just because that was like a hobby of mine. And I didn't know how to make the switch. And when I went to Shanghai, I was able to make that switch and landed a job in an environment that was like, it was perfect for me. It was a cooking app. I was a director of content. I was creating recipes. I was photographing them. I was, helping making videos. Like it was awesome. So it definitely threw me in the deep end, and it was a massive like educational experience, but it's exactly what I needed to make that switch. So that's kind of like my China experience.
That's very cool.
Chinese, but
yeah, that's I love hearing stories from there because I haven't been myself yet. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm definitely going to at some point, but my brother actually also went. He did the whole TEFL, teaching English foreign language thing, and he went to go. He was teaching English in Guangzhou, I believe, for about 2 years, and just the stories and environments and food and all kinds of things, it just seems like amazing all over. And it's like you said, like one part is so different and like it's almost, you
So
almost want to say
different.
it's a completely different like continent, the different like places in China. It's drastic, and I just think that's so cool.
No, it is. It's so cool, and the food is amazing. I mean, tasted things that I'd never tasted before. I mean, look, I'm not into like eating weird stuff. Like I didn't go there, but I mean, like the provincial cuisines and the different spices that we'll use and the different ingredients and just amazing food. And people say Chinese food, and they think like sweet and sour pork or sweet and sour chicken. You can't even get that stuff there. Like you can't order that there. Like, that's like westernized Chinese food.
Yeah,
like the
it's
regional
American Chinese food.
Exactly. It's American Chinese food. It was invented in San Francisco. Like it's not Chinese, like proper, like,
Chinese.
Excellent Chinese food.
Yeah.
I just, there was one place that I used to go to all the time called Lotus Eatery, and they just had the most amazing food from Yunnan, and like earthy, a lot of cumin, a lot of chili, like tea leaves, lots of vegetarian food. Like it was just amazing. And I haven't been able to find that anywhere else. What's one of the things I miss the most about living there is that sort of, having access to that stuff, that sort of stuff. Like it's really easy. And also learning, like I learned so much about food when I was there, especially from my, friends and colleagues. And people they love teaching you about stuff, and you can learn so much about culture through food. And it's a very important part of life. And I think that, a big thing for me there.
I definitely agree. That's like one of my most excited things, that don't know what the right English is there, but one of the things I'm most excited about travel is culture and food in different places. It's just the most interesting thing to me, the way that different people make the same thing, like say a type of meat or whatever, but like across the world is dramatically different and so crazy. Again, like you said, how much it can say about the people and the way they prepare things, because certain places didn't have, I mean, especially a lot of the like smaller Chinese places, they don't have certain Western stoves or anything, so they make things in like big vats of water or like things like that. And it's just, I mean, still super good. I'm not bashing it at all, but it's super interesting. Yeah.
No, it is. It is. And I think, you can sit around a table eating food with people and not speak the same language, but you still connect through that food. And I think that was like really cool. And I think if you have the means and you want to do it, like people need to travel. Like I can't wait for borders to start opening up again. I can't wait to be able to go to other countries. I'm so grateful that I had the opportunity to live in China and travel. I mean, thank God I've got parents that are like travel freaks. So we've been traveling, since we were young. And I've been exposed to a lot of different cultures. And I think that's so important, to be exposed to that sort of thing. It's hugely beneficial. So if you can do it, travel as much as you can.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, thanks very much. We can wrap this thing up. I'll just turn to you and put you on the spot for a second. If there's anything that you thought of that you want to talk about, or anything you want to shout out that I can add on Instagram or anything, then you can do that. Otherwise, we can wrap up.
I think it's probably just for other content creators and people that are wanting to get started, and are waiting for the right time. Just do it. I've made a lot of mistakes that I've learned from, that I've waited too long to do things instead of just like pulling the trigger. Just do it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You might not feel like you're ready, but just get on it and just do it. Yeah.
100%. Thanks so much. I'm just going to say thank you to everyone that has been listening or watching or however they've been doing that thing. And thanks so much, Nicky, for coming on. And it was great chatting to you. Could probably still carry on for hours and hours, but I don't know if everyone has that kind of time. So I'll say goodbye and thank you very much.